Okay, so this is my follow-up video to the first one, and I've made a lot of great progress. I wouldn't say I'm done, but I would say I'm much further down the path than I was. And so here's what it's working right now. So if I put in like Fresno, of course, well, not of course, but then I put something like hardware. If I don't put the number in, it doesn't send it, which is great. And then when I search, what happens here is I get a list of hardware locations around me. Okay, so let me show you how I did this. Continuing from the last video where I left off, I did implement using Axios and promises. I think now that I've done this, I do kind of want to rewrite it in callbacks just to see how that works. Or maybe, like Jared did with the fetch. Maybe that'll be fun too. But this is my app.js where I'm setting up my geo URL, and I still use Google API, maps.google for that. So I sent it the address. And in this case, because of the way we're sending it from the client, you don't have to encode it. You can, but you don't have to. And then I make the call to get to call the method on Axios. And then when my responses come back, I still do some error checking. I didn't really change anything here. The one thing I am going to play around with is deconstructing that object when it comes back to make this a little cleaner. And then I set up, once I got my Latin long, then what I did here is I then set up for my next call based on what I'm searching for. And then I pass in that search term along with the Latin long, and I call return, which then calls Axios again with this second API call with the Google Places text search. And then, of course, do a little error checking here. And then when I get these responses back, and this is just one of many ways. I'm actually going to redo this, not this, but I'll show you in a minute. So when I get the responses back, and this is the list of whatever I'm looking for, then I create a local variable and an array, and then I push those items into the array. And here's where if I have a phone number, I send all that off. And then this is actually what gets sent back to the client side. So I send a welcome message, and I haven't handled the address, but I will. And then I send that array. Okay, the array is what I created up here, where I pushed those individual locations into there, and it was just easier. So I could have pushed in anything, but I did element name and element address. And then I just sent that back, right? So in the case of success, I sent it back. Otherwise, I just caught the error. But I'm actually going to end up doing, a send back on the error message so the user sees it, which is much more user-friendly in that case. So now let me show you the JS on the client side. And so here, I ended up changing, and I will play with this a little more on that message too. I called it results. And then I changed the ID to be results out, just to distinguish that, okay? And then I did the fetch like I showed you already, right? Then if there's an error, send that back, else set up the message one content with the welcome message. And then I set up just a variable with an empty string. And then I iterated over because data.results is what came back, right? So right here. So this is what got sent back, the key value pair that represents that array. And then I iterated over for each item in there. And I just did a plus equal. So, one thing I didn't show you, and I'll show you in a minute, I ended up anyway, I'll show you that in a minute. So I created a string, plus equal takes whatever is in there and adds it to. So I created a long string with an li. And then in the end, after I did that, which by the way, this is not the best way to do this, But I just thought I'd give a quick way, and then I'm going to rewrite. I still have some refactoring to do to show you the proper way to do this, which is by creating elements and then appending them in. But for now, I just called results, which was my area, inner HTML this time because I'm sending HTML. I'm not just sending text content is equal to my output string. And that is what creates that. So the one thing I wanted to show you that I didn't do before was on my partial here for on the view. What I did here is I created a UL, because if you have any HTML, you know it's a UL, and then LIs are the individual items. Okay, and then I of course gave it the ID I was saying before. Okay. So that's how I got it working. I do have some refactoring to do, but I feel like it's, about 80% there. I definitely want to clean up the code, do the deconstructing, make a better message, maybe actually think about on the output, creating links. That'd be fun, right? Figuring out a way wouldn't be too hard to do that. But at least for now, I get the output that I'm looking for, right? All right, I hope this helps you understand the requirements for our next Develop It project. Have a good one.